Hey everybody, this is Mike, Kilo Oscar 4, Papa Delta India. The last name's Randazzo. I'm Magical Mike because for 15 years I was a performing magician. And today we are going to continue our talk on what the heck do I use to talk on satellites. And we're going to talk on the S.A.T box. That's self-contained antenna tracker. This little gizmo makes life so easy, I'm actually working on a Go box to do it portable with one of these. Let me explain. Back when I first got into satellites, my first contact was with an Allowance HD1 HT and a Arrow 2 antenna standing in my driveway. And when I first said KO4 PDI Echo Lima 99 and somebody repeated it back to me, that was about as giddy as I've been in a long time. Thus, the quest to do satellites arose. This was in 2021, and my Elmer had told me that he was able to talk on the ISS to an astronaut, and I was sold. I was like, well, I'm going to do that. I have to do that. That sounds like something that's right up my alley because I love the space program. One of the reasons I live in Florida is because I wanted to be closer to Kennedy Space Center. It's my happy place. I go there. I got a season pass, and I go there as often as I can. A little less often now that I got the dog, but I'm still getting over there. I'm going to make sure I got somebody to take care of the dog for a day and head down there and have a good time. So, I've actually been told by people there that I should be a guide there, but it's kind of 80-mile round each way to work would be really tough. I don't know if I could do it. It wouldn't make enough money to pay for the gas. However, I love satellites, and that made me fall in love with satellites, and so the quest began. How do I talk on satellites? Well, somebody says, well, there's an app. Okay, what app? Heavens Above. They don't make it for the iOS. Oh, bummer. Now what? You can go to AMSAT website and find out when the satellites are passing over. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't always have a computer with me to do that. So I got to find something else. And then somebody said, Go Sat Watch. Oh, okay, Go Sat Watch. And then Heavens Above, I could check if I had an Android phone, I could use that. Do you know I went out and I bought an Android phone just so I could get Heavens Above on it? So I had an iOS phone that was using GoSat Watch and Heavens Above. And guess what? They didn't agree. They were both getting their data from someplace else, so they weren't always identical. That was a problem because in order to do this, you have to have the correct TLE data. TLE data is the information that tells you when and where the satellites are going to be at any given time on the face of the Earth. And you need that, otherwise you're not going to find a satellite. If they tell you it's going to rise over there and you're looking over here, you're not going to get it. So the quest began. My first encounters were with Sean Kutzko, KX9X. Sean Kutzko had a bunch of videos he did for DX Engineering talking about different ways to do satellites. One of them was using a ICOM 5100 and egg beater antennas. So what do? I go out and I buy egg beater antennas, which was a waste because they weren't that great. But one thing I did that they suggested in this video was to get preamps, which I did. I bought a preamp for 70 centimeter and I bought a preamp for 2 meter. Well, once I did that, still, it's not really going to help me unless I know when and where the satellites are going to be there. So that was my next quest. How am I going to find out when and where they're going to be there in an easy way that wouldn't be horrible? So I go out trying to figure that out. I get involved with AMSAT. I start looking at their website and when and where things are, and they suggest a couple of different apps. Rob, the digital rancher, K5ITR, he liked to use ISS detector. And when I first met him up at Huntsville, Alabama, at the Huntsville Ham Fest 3 years ago, that's what he told me he used. So I said, all right, They had it for the iOS, so I got it. The main issue is your source for your TLE data is extremely important. In a minute, I'll show you a link where you can get your TLE data that I have found to be extremely accurate, and it's CSN Technologies. They provide it free of charge. You can update your SAT box every day if you want, which I do, and I make sure that I have the right TLE data. And there have been times, if you watch my channel, where I'm trying to get a satellite, we're not getting anywhere. So what we do is we look and try to find. I quickly can update the TLE in the SAT box, which I'm going to show you how to do it. And bam, all of a sudden I'm back on the bird. So the TLE data will change if the satellite is changing orbit. If, for instance, the ISS, every now and then they need to boost the orbit because it decays every orbit. It gets lower and lower. So you have to, and if they do that, if they reorient the ISS to keep it up higher, it's going to change the TLE data. The time that the bird is going to get to you is going to be different than before they do the move. A lot of times when they have missions where they have cargo missions going up there or something, they will change the orbit of the ISS slightly, not a lot, slightly, but that slightly is enough to make you not get it if you don't have the most up-to-date data. Got that? All right. So, lo and behold, I came up looking for an iGate. And where I live in Palm Coast, Florida, at the time, there were no iGates. What's an iGate? An iGate is a device that accepts APRS beacons and puts them out on the internet. So if you're traveling through Florida and you come up past Palm Coast and you got a Yaesu radio that's beaconing APRS, or you got a Kenwood radio that's beaconing APRS, there's no way to report it anywhere. So if you looked at the map and you tracked it, you would see the APRS data pretty accurate up to Daytona. Then from Daytona to Jacksonville, nothing. It's just a straight line. You don't know where it was because there was no iGate. CSN Technologies actually makes an iGate. It's called the iGate Mini 2. So I do a Google search and I find that. I'm like, ooh, let's go check this out. And as I get to the web page, what do I notice? A little box next to the iGate Mini 2 called the SAT box. What? SAT? What do you mean a SAT box? There it is right there. That's the iGate that I saw in Google, and that's what I was looking for. But then lo and behold, what's this over here? This over here, SAT box. Wait a minute. Self-contained antenna rotator and radio controller controls both ICOM radios and Yaesu radios without any additional hardware or software requirements. And here's the list of stuff that it does. And I was floored by that. So I went to the page and I wanted to check it out. Now this is selling for $275. But it has Bluetooth, it has GPS, and everything. So I saw this and I was like, damn, I need that. But it was very recent from the time I got burnt by R-Finder radio. And I was extremely skeptical of people's claims on the internet of what it can and cannot do. So I got in touch with them and I talked to Mike Satelitte. I said, Mike, I am not calling you a liar, but I am telling you I don't believe this does everything you say it does. And I've had a lot of people tell me that certain things did certain things that turns out they didn't do, and it wasted $1,000 out of my pocket. So I'm kind of leery. Now, mind you, at the time, this was only selling for $175. Didn't have GPS, didn't have Bluetooth, and I was like, all I wanted was something to track the satellites and control my radio. And this not only does that, it controls my rotator too. So I was very skeptical of it. So I raked Mike over the coals. I gave him a hard time. I said, you can't tell me this thing's, come on, it can't be that good, because usually if it's too good to be true, it's too good. It doesn't exist. But he's like, no, Mike, if it doesn't do what I say it's going to do, you could send it back and we'll give you a refund. And I was like, okay, that's fair enough. You're going to stand behind your little item. So lo and behold, I go out and I buy the SAT box, which I got right here. Now, I'm going to show you in a second the page on my browser that is put out by this little box. I have 3 of these. One is connected to my computer right now. One's in my hand. I got another one in the closet. I am in the process of building a portable satellite tracking unit. I am building the PSR 100 rotator, which will work with this box through wirelessly. And I am also in the process of picking up another 9700 in order to do this portable. Not necessarily, I don't have to have a 9700. I'm hoping the 5200, the ICOM 5200, when it comes out, is going to have sideband. If it doesn't have sideband, then I'm just going to stick with a 9700 in order to do satellites portable. All right, so here's the SAT box. I'm going to try to give you a good look at it. There you can see the... you can't see it. I got to figure out a way to get you to see these plugs and stuff on here. I can hold it back here. You can see it there. You can't read it, but what you have here is the ICOM 9700 has what's called a CI5 port. People say CIV, it's CI5. I was corrected by Ray Novak on that. That's a Roman numeral 5. So this is where the control cable goes into the back of the 9700. There is a jack for a CI5. A little 3.5 millimeter plug goes in here and goes into the radio, and this box will control for Doppler and everything. All right. The next jack you see right here, this is for your rotator cable. My Yaesu 5500 is plugged into this. The green block here, this is if you want to have a signal, like you want to put a light on it, and when it tells you there's a satellite in range, it flickers the light, but I don't use that. I don't know anybody that has. Over here is a USB-C now. This one happens to be a micro USB, a USB mini, because this is an older version. The newer version with the Bluetooth has the USB-C on it. There's no power in this. This is powered through that jack. You don't have to hook it up to your computer. You could hook it up to a battery box. You don't need this to be connected to your computer physically. What will happen when you first connect this is it will put out a Wi-Fi signal. This will become an access point. And you can go in to the access point and program it to where you want it to connect. So if you're using it in your home Wi-Fi, like I do, you go to your home Wi-Fi and you log this onto your home Wi-Fi. If you're using portable Wi-Fi, same deal. It'll come on as an access point, and you can tell it, hook up to this Wi-Fi. Say you're using a phone hotspot or you're using a portable hotspot. If you're doing portable, this can hook up to that the same way it hooks up to your home Wi-Fi. 192.168.68.23, that is my SAT box. So what I do is I go into my radio here, not my radio, my browser. Let me fix this again. Come on, stand up. Be a man, stand up. All right, there you go. Okay, I can leave that alone. Okay, so I go into my browser here and I type that IP address, 192.168.68.23, and I hit enter, and bam, there it comes up on the screen. This is the output of that box that is hooked up to my computer. First thing you should do is go over to this button here, TLE Frequency Database. And this is the link. Let me copy that. And this is the link. It's CSNTECHNOLOGIES.net/CSNBARE.text. Got it? It's on the screen right there. You make sure that's the website that's in here, and you click Update TLE. Now what will happen is a window will pop up and say, hey, we update, here we go, 114 satellites loaded. So you tell it okay. The next thing you're going to do is hit Internet Update. Internet Update when you update the TLE, it gets you the time and place and location of all the satellites. When you update, you do the internet update, that verifies all the frequencies that you're going to have. Now in this little window here, you see it says auto update. I say every day. So the last time I updated it was today at 7:03 p.m., which is what time it is now. And the next time it'll do is tomorrow at 7:03 p.m. But what I'll do is probably tomorrow morning I'll do another update before I get on and start using it. And what'll happen is it'll update at that time in the morning that I told it to update. So we close this. Now, this basic screen is the output of the SAT box. Notice there's no satellites here yet. We have an overhead view of my location. We have a map of the world. We have this over here that shows the height above ground. So let's just type in ISS and do a search over here. Oh. Turn the volume off on the radio. Okay, so here is the next ISS pass is 3 hours and 27 minutes and 44 seconds away from me. That's how I know. Right here it says that. 10:32 p.m. this evening is when it will rise. It'll rise southwest over here, just slightly to the west. And it's going to set northeast up here. And it's only going to be a maximum of 19 degrees above the horizon. This circle here represents the sky. The dot in the center is you and I, where we're standing. If you look at this outer ring, this is the horizon. This is 30 degrees above the horizon. This ring here is 60 degrees above the horizon. And this dot in the center would be 90 degrees above the horizon. That would be directly overhead. So, that's the first thing, this right here. I'll tell you in a second why it's blue in the background. In this window over here, if you look, this is where it's going to rise, and you can see that's how high it'll be over the horizon, right there. That's how high it'll be. Now, I never even use this, really. I really don't use this screen. I click on the word ground, and this is all the satellites that are coming over me. A lot of red flags. That's sad, because that means none of these satellites are up and running right now. JO97 is the 10:06 tonight. It goes by. It's going to be 38-degree pass, and that's reported at being heard. And so is the ISS. 10:32 this evening, the ISS will go over me. It'll be a 19-degree pass, so it won't even get to that first ring over here. It'll be something like what this one is. This is 19.7 degrees. That's the ISS. Duh. Anyway, these are all the satellites. Now, every morning, first thing I do when I wake up is I click on over here. Where is it? You have next passes. You see on the left here, next passes, and then you have view all. If you click view all, it shows you every possible satellite you could load into this SAT box. I'll get to that next. But what I do is I click next passes, and it pumps out this screen right here. These are all the next passes. Let me shrink this down a bit so it fits on the screen. All right, that's good enough. So, for instance, the darker the orange, the higher up in the sky it's going to be. So if you look at this one's only going to be 19, MO122 is coming by. The maximum elevation is only going to be 19.26. So this is a lighter orange. This one is only going to be 8.78 degrees, and you can see it's even a lighter orange. AO91 is one of the lightest, right? But when it's a dark orange like this, that's very high in the sky. Here is a AO91 pass that's going to be almost 90 degrees above my house. Right there, you could see it. And this is the track. Green is where it rises, red is where it sets. So this one will be going south to north, this one will be going north to south. That circle is the same as the circle that you see right here. Okay? So what I do in the morning is I do a screenshot of this and I post this on my Facebook group. Why? Well, in case you guys want to try to catch me, you know the passes I'll probably be on are the high ones like this. And if the satellite is active, I will be getting onto it. Now let me blow one of these up really big. Let's see, which one should we blow up? Let's try AO123. Zoom in on that. All right, so here we have AO1, not that one. Which one do I want? Yeah, this one, AO123, this one. At 10:24 and 49 seconds tonight, this is going to rise almost due north of me and travel almost due south over my house. The maximum elevation is going to be 67.23 degrees. Remember what I said, 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, it's going to be 67 degrees. So it's going to be that high, almost directly overhead. Great pass. This is where it is now, negative 27.1 degrees south of me. The duration of this pass will be 11 minutes and 11 seconds. Woo, play that number. And it's going to rise at 10:24 and it's going to set at 10:36. So you give you an idea of how long it's going to be. Now, say you want to know more information about this satellite, more passes, when's going to, you can click on this little blue thing right here. And here are all the passes of AO123 for, let's see, this is from 9/1/2025 to 9/9/2025. These are all the passes this satellite's going to make. This is the window I'm talking about right now. Let's make that a little bit bigger. These are all the passes. Acquisition of signal, where it's going to be on the horizon, on the azimuth, loss of signal on the azimuth, and the maximum elevation is over here. So this gives you all the data. So you have acquisition of signal, where on the horizon it's going to come up, loss of signal, where on the horizon it's going to set, and the maximum elevation right there. So you see there's a lot of great stuff to see with this sat box. So let's get out of there, and here's AO123. So when I post these things on Facebook, you can go here and you can look and say, oh, well, Mike is going to try AO123 at 10:24 p.m., but wait a minute, it's got a red flag. That means somebody reported it wasn't up and running. So you got to remember that. You could go there and just check it and see if it's up or not, but these are all the satellites that are coming over me and when they're coming over, the time and the how many hours until it comes. So the next satellite, PO101, is not supposed to come up until 8:22. That's an hour and 10 minutes away right now. So that's what this window is good for. You can either look at the ground track, or you can click on the word ground and see the actual list of satellites that you have in there. Where does that list come from? If you go down to the bottom or over here and click view all, here are all the satellites that this box is capable of contacting. Now, what I do, I look for the ones with the green flags first of all. AO7 I don't try because it's very hard to get through on it, and I don't want to gum up the works for anybody else. AO123 comes up, 27, 73, and 91. Never heard AO95. As we scroll down here, and we're staying in this first column, these CAS satellites used to be real good, but they kind of died. They're not active anymore. So that's it for column 1. We go to column 2. FO29, man, if they could get that one back, that's about 900 miles above the earth. That is a great, you could literally get all of North America in one footprint on that, which is pretty cool. I'm going to actually add that back to my list. As we scroll down, we see Hades ICM, which is aka SO125. That is active right now, so I have that chosen. Hades R SO124, that is also active, and I have that one chosen. HO113, we all know about that. It's not active anymore. They kind of canned it. Or is that, no, that was PO118? I forget. The one that you had to use that fancy program to make contacts with. Anyway, it's out of whack right now. ISS. Now, the ISS, you just have one check mark for ISS, right? But that gives you every transponder on the ISS is listed, from their school contacts to their SSTV to all kinds of stuff. So remember that. You can get to them right there. JO97 is another good bird. I never tried ITA SAT It's got a green flag. I'm going to check that. I'm going to add that. That might be a new one. JO97. And as we scroll down here, the only other one I usually put in my thing is MO122, even though it hasn't been heard this time around. The third column, these satellites, the NOAA satellites. Yeah, the NOAA satellites are good if you want to download weather images. They're there, but they don't have a sideband repeater or an FM repeater on them. PO101 does. You can get that on FM. Here's RS44. That's active. That's it, I think, for that column. And then in the last column, we have SO50, Sun8 2. Also, I have those both checked. These are not active. Now, here are the TLEs. There's 9 of them. And you notice they're all red or yellow. Yellow means strictly telemetry. The question mark, the yellow question mark means the last time somebody heard it, it was telemetry, but now we didn't hear it, so we're going to give it a question mark. It could be telemetry. They haven't activated these yet, and that's it. That's all the satellites have. So then I go over here, I click Save Favorites, which is right behind me. You can't see it. Now it's saved my favorites. There you go. It tells me it's saved the favorites. This is the ISS repeater. This is the ISS transponders listed right here. You have VHF, UHF voice repeater is 145.990 up and 437.800 down. Then you have the mode VHF, VHF Crew 1 School. That's school contacts. They're 145.200 as an up and 145.800 as a down. Both VHF. You notice that? This is the same voice repeater that's on the first line. Why there's another one, I don't know. I could actually delete one of them. The imaging, when they do SSTV, that's what the imaging is. That's on VHF. And then UHF imaging is here, and here's the frequencies it's on. Slow Scam TV for the FRAM2 ham. That was an isolated individual test done when they did the orbit of the Dragon capsule north and south instead of east and west. They went over the pole. They did a polar orbit instead of the equatorial orbit. And as a result, before they did that orbit, they tested it on the ISS. That's why that frequency's there. And I believe they were using an ICOM 705 to do that. If you want to connect APRS, here's the frequency, 145.825. That is the APRS frequency. You can literally send APR signals to the ISS. It will pick them up and drop them off wherever you need them to. All right? VHF, VHF, Crew R2 and 3. This is their transponder. So you won't be able to talk to the crew on this, but you'll be able to listen to this if you want. Now, the Soyuz section of the ISS also has a call sign. It's R0 ISS, I believe. That is the frequency for them. That's strictly a 2-meter downlink you can listen to. School contact downlink on UHF, 437.525. All this data, and this is why the SAT box is invaluable. You cannot imagine how easy this makes your life, this SAT box. It has everything in here already. I didn't program any of this. This all came when I updated the TLE data on the csntechnologies.net website. And I tell the SAT box to refresh it every day. All right. So this is why I stress the most important thing in doing satellite communications is knowing when and where the satellites are going to be. If you don't have the right information, it's like pissing in the wind. You don't need to do it. So, yeah, remember that. Now, I haven't even scratched the surface yet. We're going to go over each one of these buttons on the bottom of the screen here. I'm going to tell you what each one does. And that we're going to start doing that right now. But in the meantime, I showed you the satellites. I showed you the data they're giving you. Every satellite you pick is going to load whatever transponders you have. So let's just M0122. We'll select that one. And notice we have a linear transponder, which is freaking amazing. That's a lower sideband, upper sideband. No tone involved in that. And you're up on 145.925, and you're down on 435.825. But the radio the SAT box will control the radio in order to show the Doppler effect. Now this, you also could do FT4 on this satellite. On M0122, that's on a frequency of 145.925 and a downlink of 435.825, same as the other one. But here's the catch. The FT4, when you set up your WSJTX, you have to run it in full duplex mode. Run it in full duplex mode and it will do, I have made one contact on RS44 via FT4. And the reason they choose FT4, not FT8, it takes much less time for FT4 than FT8. All right? So that's just an example of that. So there you have the simple frequencies and satellite settings in the SAT box. Now, I did mention that I was going to tell you what this blue stuff was. The newer SAT boxes are fantastic. They have this option to do a survey of the sky. If you go down here, there is a button over here on the left, says survey. You click on survey. You tell it the frequency you want to survey because you want to find interference. So 145.9, that's pretty close to where the ISS is, right? The ISS frequencies are. So that's what I want to scan. And I want to scan from 0 to 360 degrees and from 0 to 90 degrees. This will cause the antenna, you're going to love this, to do 5 circles, 5 360-degree circles, listening on 145.900. The minute it picks up a interference, any kind of signal, it'll mark it on the screen. Okay, so let's close this and go back over here. Notice there's no marks on this, which means I don't have any interference. I'm looking at the what was this? Yeah, here's where you can pick what survey you want. Oh, you can't see that either when it opens up. Well, anyway, this is a drop-down menu, and I can either hide the survey, do an automatic survey, or put on the frequency that I want, which survey I did of the area. Oh, I also forgot to mention over here, report status. If you go to try to get a satellite, you don't hear anything, you could say not heard, and then it'll put that red flag next to it. If you did hear telemetry, like a CW signal or something like that, you tell it you heard beacon or telemetry only. If you made a QSO, you don't even have to pick active. If you enter a QSO, it will automatically know that the satellite is active and it'll report it as active like that. All right. When I hit the drop down there, you don't see it either. I don't know why it doesn't do that. Oh, well. Anyway. All right. So we talked about getting the TLE data correct by doing the update. We talked about the screen and the things it does. Let me go button by button on the base here and show you what each one of these buttons does. Control. Let me see if it pops up. Yes, it does. Okay. Say I want to talk to a repeater, and that repeater is 215 degrees away from me. So I can go over here and type 215 for the azimuth and 0 as the elevation and tell it to go. And if you could see my antenna right now, the camera's not working right now, but you would see the antenna turning to go to 215 degrees on the horizon. Now say I wanted to point to a specific latitude and longitude. I just type that information in here. Here and here. If I want to point to a grid square, I can type in the grid square here and tell it to go, and it will go there. If I want to point to a call sign, here, KC2HWB, let's just try that, and I'll tell it to look it up. Now I have this tied into, oh, it's KC5HWB, KC5HWB, that's Jason in Texas. And I tell it to look up, look, he's in EM12KT, 287 degrees away from me. So now I can tell it to go, and that's in Texas. And now the antenna is going to turn and point in that direction so that I could get that KC5HWB. That would be Jason Ham Radio 2.0. I won't get him because he's in Texas and I'm in Florida. But you never know. You may be able to do it. So yeah, you could do that. Now, say you don't want any of that. You just want to move the antenna yourself manually. You do up and down, left and right here. So you hit right, and it'll start moving to the right until it can't go to the right anymore until you tell it to stop. Over here, you click stop, and it stops. All right. Here's where it's pointing right now. It's at an elevation of 7 degrees. The current direction it's pointing is 321 degrees. And that is what's going on right now. So this is how you control the SAT box. Rotator. This is how you control the rotator. All right, I have a Yaesu 5500 rotator on top of a 50-foot tower with 2 Wemo antennas. We will talk about all those things in future videos. Right now, we're strictly connected to the SAT box, and we're talking about the SAT box. So let me hit... the other thing, you have ready and park. Those are pre-programmed positions you put in. We're going to show you how to do that next. Okay, so we'll close this. And now let's go. We did the TLE frequency database. Let's go to rotator. Here's the rotator. Now here's where you put your park and ready positions. Where do you want your antenna to go when you're not using it for satellites? What direction do you want it to point in? Well, that's what the park position is. Or the ready position. Doesn't matter, either or. In my case, the park position points it straight up and parallel to my house, just to make it look nice and give it less wind load. On the ready position, this is pointing to the St. Augustine Amateur Radio Association's repeater. So I have the elevation at 0 and the direction is 350.1 degrees. Post pass, in other words, when it's done, where do you want the antenna to go? Right here you tell it. Do you want it to go to ready, park, or just stop the antenna wherever it is? I have it going to ready, so I'm pointed at the St. Augustine repeater. Antenna flip is very important. Before the satellite rises, when it sees that satellite, it knows if it's going to have to go left to right, right to left, and whether or not it can get the whole pass, because there are limits to where the rotator can go. It can only go so far in one direction, and then it has to go all the way around to the other side to pick it up from there. So what the flip does, it flips the antenna before the satellite rises so that it's pointing right at it, so it can just track constantly through the sky without having to go backwards and come back again. So that is what that's about. So you always want the antenna flip enabled right here. Minimum predicted pass, I tell it, I want everything. So at 0 degrees, I want to know it's there. And the AOS alarm is 10 seconds, so it gives me a little beep. Where do you want the alarm to play? You could either have it on the SAT device, the web browser, or both, or none, or turn it off. All right? So I have the SAT device make noise. And then the quality, this is... How can I explain the quality to you? Well, if any of you have been following me for any time, you saw there was a couple of times I had a satellite and the antenna was doing this, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I had the quality set at 3. I turned it up to 7. That never happened ever again. If you're going to manually calibrate, these are the buttons you would use. You would move the antenna all the way one way, you would say set minimum. Move it all the way the other way, say set maximum. Or you could hit auto calculate. Voltage, the volts are the volts that the rotator is seeing. And don't mess with that. If you have an issue with your rotator, I highly suggest contacting Mike Satelitte, Keith Bush, or Frank Garofalo at CSN Technologies, and they will actually, they've done it with me more than once, done a nice Zoom call where we discuss everything that's going on. And they even look at this screen. I share my screen with them to show them what's going on, and they know it. Relay, I'm not sure. What is relay? I don't know what relay is. Oh, that's the flickering light thing. I have it disabled. Simulate, I don't want it to simulate. And then once I get this all set where I want it, I click Save Rotator Settings. The window closes, and now if I hit Ready, the antenna is going to turn and point towards the St. Augustine repeater. If I hit Park, it will point straight up and down. So that is the rotator window. Network. This is one that you should never have to go in here, but if you do, here's my Wi-Fi. PGM6G. Secondary Wi-Fi is PGM6G. And I didn't put the password. The passwords aren't in on this because you don't need to see them. But then you hit connect. On radio, you pick ICOM up here. Here's your radios. This is the frequency that I'm using for the baud rate, 19.2. Don't use this. Don't use this. This is what I love. All the different radio controlling satellite devices alternate where your transmit is. Sometimes it's on A, sometimes it's on B. You receive sometimes on A, sometimes on B. What this does, I tell it, I always want my transmit on the upper VFO and my receive on the bottom VFO. So it's that way every single time. Update interval is 500 milliseconds. What the heck? Why is that just started? My TikTok started playing in my pocket. Figure that. I don't know why that happened. Okay, so after you get done setting this all the way you want it, just hit save rotator frequencies. Save rotator settings. All right. So we did network. We did radio. Here's the one I love. This is Bluetooth. We don't have anything we could use Bluetooth with yet. However, I did get my ICOM 705 connected. These are my TVs that are here. Right? That's my TV in my ham shack. It's seeing that Bluetooth right there. So I'll just shut that off. We're not going to mess with that. The future will have many Bluetooth things to work with. But right now, it's nothing there. This is your location. So I put in my call sign. I'm in Echo Lima 99JN. This is the latitude and this is the longitude of my location. This has GPS in it, so it can select the GPS on its own. As a matter of fact, I think that's what it did. I didn't type this in here. I'm auto enabled with grid mode. Okay, whatever. Time zone offset. I am +4 UTC. My mind's slow. Why is this on metric? This should be on imperial. So I'll get that. Here's my login for QRZ, my password, and my call sign. Now, if I had a weather station, I could put the weather station API key in here, and it will know the weather by me. LCD brightness, you could change the brightness of the screen by choosing that. Time format is AM PM. QSO log type is ham radio deluxe, and this is where it is. DX commander port, don't have it. Satellite subscription enabled. That gives you more data, more satellites in when you do the lookup of the satellites. I'm just going to hit, actually I'm going to hit save because I changed it to imperial units. All right, so that is location. QSO log. Here's where you put in your QSO. So we had Jason Johnston we picked out, KC5HWB, and it already looked it up on QRZ, filled in all the data. He's in Texas. He's in Echo Mike 12KT is his grid square, United States. And now this line here, I'll give you what this is. This here, I could put $M space $C space $N space and $S, and I tell it to save that. Right now, watch what happens. If I say add entry, I'm going to add entry. That $M, C, N, and S, what it does, I'll show you in the log. I added entry. Close this now, and you see it made a log entry here. Well, let me move me because you can't see. You can't see what I'm talking about because I'm in front of it. Let's move myself up there. Yeah, you notice here, it's got I'm KO4PDI, so the $M is my call sign, right? So you see here it says $M. It puts my call sign there. His call sign $C is their call sign. That's KC5HWB. $N is their name, Jason P. Johnston, and then $S would be the satellite, right? So let's close this and go back. It didn't put the satellite. Oh, because we don't have a satellite chosen here. So if we had ISS here, we'll do it again. We'll search for the ISS. Here comes everything. And now we'll do an entry, QSO log, KO4, put my call sign in, and do a lookup. Bam, Michael Randazzo, Florida, United States. Has this, notice it's saved the $M, $C, $N, and number sign S. That should be $S. And tell it to save. And now when I save this entry, it'll put me right after Jason. And you could see KO4 PDI made the call, KO4 PDI answered the call. The name is Michael Randazzo, and now it added the ISS is the satellite that we spoke on. I know this is a long video, but we're getting there. We're getting there quick. By the way, this is no big deal. This has not entered anything on Logbook of the World or anything yet. This is just a log that's stored in the SAT box. All right. So now you can see that was QSO log. Pass log. We can click on pass log, and it will show us the satellite acquisition signal, what time we worked it, and when it went by. Now here's one that's fun. Window. When you hit window, this window opens up, and right up here you have a drop-down menu. And you can't see it, but you have a bunch of choices here. Info, map, polar, ground, next passes, QSO log, or QSO entry. If we click QSO entry, that same entry where we put in the call sign with Jason and me is right here. You can put that in. If you hit QSO log, here's everybody in the log as of right now. If you hit next passes, this screen pops up, shows you the next satellites that are passing. This is a separate window. You can move it onto a different monitor and keep it there or what. Doesn't matter. You could see the ground track. That's the window right there. That if you click on the word ground in the main window, it shows you all the satellite passes. You could click polar. This is the overhead view of your location. This is a separate window now, completely different from the main screen. Map, this is pretty cool. It'll show you a map of the world, and the next depending on how many orbits you tell it to remember, that's how many it shows on here. So I have it at 6. So there's 6 orbits on here. And then you have info. This is the data that pertains to the ISS pass. It's going to rise at 55.3, and it's going to set at 346. Right now it's 27 degrees below the horizon, and it's not here. But this is a separate window. This is how I log QSOs. I set that up for a QSO log, and then I put that in there. So let me shut this off now. And we're back here to this screen. That was window. Now schedule. What's schedule? If we click schedule, this is what's really cool. Say you want to plan your day. So you go through your list and you see what satellites are where and when they're coming up. And you click over here and you choose the satellite. So let's take AO123. And what we want we want to get on the FM transceive receiver. So that's it. So we tell it add SAT. Now we go over here and we get another SAT. Let's take the ISS. ISS. So we want to see the ISS. So we want the FM voice repeater. And you tell it add SAT. So what's happening is you notice what it's doing. It's making a list of the satellites we're choosing. Now, on the main screen, you click the word schedule here, and that schedule you just built, it will go from one satellite to the next satellite to the next satellite to the next satellite as they pass. It will just stay within the realm of the satellites you picked out, which is pretty handy. Another thing that's really good for, well, let's say when the ISS was doing a slow scan TV images, I could go over here and I could say search ISS. I could say all we want to do is the VHF imaging. So we highlight that transponder. Then we come over here and we click the word continuous, which means every single pass of the ISS, it will log on to that transponder and will control the radio to receive slow scan TV images. That's how I don't even have to be home. It could be in the middle of the night. That's the last one they did. I had it run in the middle of the night, never shut the radio off. And every time the ISS went past and sent down an image, it collected it. It's a whole nother game you could play. It's a lot of fun, and it comes in really handy. So we got to schedule. I showed you what that was. Continuous, it won't look at any other satellites. As long as this button's hit, it will stick with the ISS and stick with the transponder you told it to. All right, so if you hit continuous, that's what it's going to do. All right. Antenna enabled means the antenna is going to move when it stops. If something goes wrong, you got to quickly stop everything. Just click stop all, and it stops everything. And that'll be good. So we did window schedule survey. Here's survey. Here's where I picked I kind of brushed on this earlier. Here's the frequency. You can pick AM, upper sideband, CW, FM, whatever you want, whatever band you want. And then you tell it start survey down here, start survey. And that antenna will make 5 360-degree rotations measuring the sky, any signals it's picking up on that frequency in the sky. I'll show you on the window. Say it found something right here. I could click right on what it found, and the antenna will turn and aim right at where the problem was. And I could hear what the survey picked up. So that's the survey window. About. This tells you I'm on version 9.095. This is my serial number. If I say check for update, it warns me that I might lose what's in the log, but that don't matter because those are just test things. So I'll tell it, okay, check. Before you do it, tells you to disconnect to empty out your log, but I never did, and I usually do if I haven't saved them yet. But it's checking right now. See, it says please wait. It's looking to see if there's a new update. Now it just chirped, which means it was checking for it. Is it done? Yep, I think it's done. We're back on the Wi-Fi. All right, so I still have 9.095. That's still the current version. The instruction manual on CSN Technologies. Let's show you what that's like. You click on this, and literally, here's the manual. Everything you ever wanted to know about the SAT box, but we're afraid to ask. From getting started, the introduction, to get familiar with it, here shows you the screens, shows you the connectors, shows you the back of the 9700 right here, showing you that. And this is the 9100. It's showing you here. And very important process, do not connect the rotator until you read the calibration procedure. Believe me on that one. Here's your quick start guide, and here's your network setup. This is what I just showed you, how to log on to your local network. Here's the dashboard, tracking panel, map panel, radio panel, option buttons, and control panel. Detailed explanation, and it's you don't have to worry about printing out the manual or anything. Just click on it in the app and it takes you right there. Operations, favorites. Here's where you pick out the satellites you want. Satellite status, the different triangles and buttons, and it tells you all that stuff. Tracking information, how to track the satellite. And it's even got a little video here. The radio pane, what's in the radio pane? How does that work? QSO log. This is all here, all the data you could possibly need to run this. And I'll tell you, if you ever have any questions about this and you want a quick answer, you can email me ko4pdi@1791.com, and I will get back to you ASAP. I'll put that in the notes where you can email me, ko4pdi@1791.com. All right, let's go back to the SAT box. Close that window. Close this window. I believe we've covered everything. The about, the schedule. I've gone through every button. I showed you how this window, you can click on it and it will show you now how many satellites are you connected to with your GPS. Come over to the polar window over here, and if you go to this line right here, GPS status, we have 3 satellites. I'm in Echo Lima 99JN. If I click on STAT, this window should change. There's all the satellites that are over my house right now. Here's the strength of how strong they are. We got 4 connected right now. This one, this one, this one, and this one. And these are also there, but I'm not connected to them right now. Don't have a signal. If you hit grid, it'll take you... Do it. Come on, I hit grid. Go back. It's not going back. Well, if I hit stat again, it should go back. Yeah, that goes back to where the antenna's pointing. And in this window, this box right here is where the antenna is pointing at right now. That would be the St. Augustine repeater. If I click on a satellite, it's going to show me where it's going to be, and it's going to rise right here and set right here. It's very, very low past this one, only 10 degrees. And this diamond over here represents the satellite. When it's going to be in play, it turns white. This black diamond over here will turn white, and then you'll see it right here. And as it moves along this line, this box will lead it. It will be in front of it, because this way the satellite catches up to it. It's always slightly in front. There's no satellite up right now, so I can't show you that. I think I've covered just about everything there is on this screen. Oh, we didn't go into the radio pane very well here. I'll give you that real quick. Satellite position, the azimuth is this, the elevation is this. Antenna position, the azimuth is this, the antenna is this. The elevation is this. The range, right now it's 12,924 kilometers away from me. Or 8,025 miles. Acquisition of signal is at 8:22 p.m. this evening, and that will be at an azimuth of 342.8. Time to go would be 34 minutes and 45 seconds. We're going to lose the signal at 8:32, so that's going to be a 10-minute pass. We'll probably make some contacts on that. And this is the data here. The time right now, it's 9/1, September 1st, 2025, and it is 7:48 p.m. Last message, if I got a message from the SAT box, it would appear here. And right now we got 3 satellites we're connected to GPS-wise. The antenna is enabled. You want that to be green, otherwise it won't active. It won't connect to it. This enable here is the radio. If I click this, the radio is no longer being controlled by the... I've been talking a long time. All right. I think that's about it. Like I said, if you have any questions, email me at ko4pdi@1791.com. I'm here to answer questions all the time. I'm live at least once or twice a week minimum, many times more than that. As a matter of fact, I'm over a year now of continuous every week doing a live stream. So we're at 50 weeks right now. In 2 weeks, it'll be a year, which makes sense because in 2 weeks, it represents the time I went to see my mom. And I did a live feed, but I did it through Restream. No, I didn't do it through Restream. I did it through StreamYard, I believe. And as a result, it didn't count, so it showed a break there. But it's actually, it's been over 2 years now. I've been doing consistent live streams every week. So if you got any questions, you got anything you want to learn about, or you want to try to listen to something or try something, let me know. I'll do everything I can to give you guys a hand. KO4PDI is my call sign. KO4PDI.com is my website. Go there. A lot of discounts and stuff like that you can get. So check that out. And remember, don't do anything I wouldn't do, at least not without me, all right? This is KO4PDI. That's it for now. I'll be clear. 73, everybody.